Hello, and welcome to lesson 44 of the Learning Guitar series. Before we move on with this lesson, I would like to thank the people who are supporting this project on Patreon. It's not many of you, but it's truly appreciated as your support is what keeps this project going. So thank you very much. And for those of you that are not supporting this project on Patreon, see if you want to consider it as an option. So lesson 44 of the series is going to be dealing with how we can displace, again, minor pentatonic, and this time against the minor chord. In the previous lesson, we looked at kind of the reason why, say, for example, of a major chord, say, let's use C major. I can use A minor pentatonic, but I can also use E minor pentatonic. And if I wanted to get a Lydian sound, I can use B minor pentatonic. And if you follow the lesson, kind of like the logic behind it, it should be kind of clear. And obviously, I hope you also done a lesson, I guess, 40, 41, and 42, which are about minor pentatonic, major pentatonics, and dominant 7 pentatonics. Now, we're going to look at the minor chord. In this case, we're going to use the C minor as an example, but, again, you can transpose these kind of theories into any key. What's the purpose of displacing, in this case, pentatonics? In the future, we could, you see how we can displace any sort of scale in a way. I started this discussion with you on pentatonics because it's a very common scale in terms of people knowing them, right? Probably this minor pentatonic in particular is probably the first thing we learn on guitar. Now, let's look at what a minor chord in theory should look like. And so, if we look at our major modes, we know that Dorian is minor because it's got 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. We know that Phrygian is also minor, 1, flat 3, 5, and we're talking in terms of scales. And we also know that the Ionian is 1, flat 3, 5. It's also important that we know the rest of the intervals. And what you see here is basically the same thing, same notes, intervals in this case, written as a vertical stretcher. Okay, so this is Ionian 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's a scale. That's what we call it an horizontal stretcher. And this is the equivalent as a vertical stretcher. For those of you that still don't see the connection, feel free to look at the second as a 9, because they're the same note but an interval higher. The fourth is the 11, and the sixth is the 13. So if you can see here, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. What you're looking at is actually the same notes. And with the difference that, of course, we look at, at a compound interval. So if I was to say, okay, this is G Ionian, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And this is the same notes, but as a vertical stretcher. And that's what we call a modal arpeggio. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. Why it's important? Why? Because, again, when we look at the relations in between scales and chords, sometimes we'll see intervals as seconds and sometimes it's as ninths. The important thing is that you understand it is the same note. Now, let's have a look at, so basically how can you use pentatonic against minor chords. As I said, in this case, I'm using C minor. Well, I'm using C as a reference. If you want to think in terms of C minor, this will be your chord, okay? In this particular shape, obviously, as usual, is 5 shapes. And of course, it's a minor chord, it's got 1, 5, and flat 3. Now, the question you need to ask, The question you need to ask yourself is, okay, can I play a C minor pentatonic over a C minor chord? And, the answer, if I write down, I'm going to use the same shape. If I write down the same pentatonic, So this is C minor. You obviously you can see that it works because in the intervals it generates is a flat 7, a flat 3. You have a fourth in there. So if you want to understand, okay, C minor, what kind of C minor? Well, the fourth, oops, here we forgot. This is 1 and 3. Sorry for that. If you look at the fourth, so the fourth and the 11th are the same thing. And we're looking at it from the point of view of minor. Okay, it works over a Dorian chord, it works over a Phrygian chord, and of course it works over an Ionian chord because they all contain the 11, and also the other note, 1 flat 3 5 flat 7 11, 1 flat 3 5 flat 7 11. Those are the exact notes that we're playing in our pentatonic. 1 flat 3 4 5 flat 7. And you know, at the end of the day, there is nothing better than a listening test, but as I say, this should be obvious. I mean, I'm playing C minor, and I'm playing C minor pentatonic over it. And that's, you know, that's okay, right? Let's move on. Now, for a couple of keys, I'm going to do exactly what I've done last week. Although, as I said, at the end of the day, you know, if you followed the previous lesson, by now the logic of what's going on should be kind of clear to you. Let's say I want to try C sharp minor instead, okay? So this is C sharp minor pentatonic, at least one of the shapes of it. Now, as you can see, this scale, I guess this note, which is C, generates intervals like a major 7 and a 3, that are really not minor, okay? So you would have a lot of alterations, fair enough, if you used it, but for the moment we're trying to use material that still doesn't steer too much away from the chord. Same thing, I can take D minor, and if I look at D minor, now, as you can see, for D minor, I have the root note. I don't have the flat 3, fair enough, but I don't have a major 3 either. So maybe I can use this. What I get is a 6, and you can see this as a 13 if you want. I get a 4, and you can see this as an 11. And I get a 2, and you can see this as a 9. Can I use this on minor? Yes, you can. And the reason is, at the end of the day, it actually is a minor, in this case, you can use it over Dorian. And you can see them here. So you get the 1st, the 5th, the 9, and the 11, and the 13. In other words, if I play my minor pentatonic a tone up from the chord, so for C minor, I'm playing D minor pentatonic, I have access to different colors. There are still colors of Dorian in this case, so you're not alterating as such. But, you know, it gives you, as I said, different colors that you might enjoy using. So this is C minor, C minor pentatonic, D minor pentatonic. As you can see, like I can even use some bluesy licks, and I'm just displacing them because I'm displacing the entire scale. Hence, I'm accessing, in this case, the upper structure of a Dorian mode. And when I say upper structure, I mean this part of a Dorian mode. So here is the chord, and here is your upper structure. Let's take, for example, E flat minor. Now, as you can see, here I have a flat 3. I also have a flat 5. I have a sharp 5. I have a sharp 4. It's the same as a flat 5. Okay, so this is the software doing its own thing. Now, this is not going to apply to minor because of the flat 5. But as you will see in the future, this is applied to Locrian, Because if you look at Locrian, 1, flat 3, flat 5, flat 9, or, flat 2, if you want to look at it that way. Flat 13 is the same as flat 6. Obviously, you also have the 11, but obviously, if you look at the pentatonic we just looked at, this is a note of Locrian, this is a note of Locrian, this is a note of C Locrian. We're talking about C Locrian, obviously. This is a note of Locrian, and this is a note of Locrian. So, in the future, when we do, when we look at displays in minor pentatonics over alpha diminished chords, so for us, C alpha diminished, B flat minor, E flat. But see, if you understand the logic of what's going on, harmony and theory, at the end of the day, it's much easier than people want to think it is. At the end of the day, it's kind of logical. And at the end of the day, we're looking literally it's just a couple of charts. In a way, you can, take a screenshot, and I'm just checking intervals or scales against, in this case, is the major modes, and see, okay, can I use a particular scale or a particular chord? We know that 2 tones up is going to give us some major references. For C, E minor, we already studied that. Okay, no point in looking at it. So we can look at F minor. And if I look at F minor, what's interesting here is that I have the 11th, I have a flat 6, which is a flat 13, okay? And then, of course, these are all notes in common to all 3 modes of minor. So Dorian, Phrygian, and Aeolian, they share this content. But 4th and flat 6, again, have a look at have our chart. 4th and flat 6, Aeolian, 4th and flat 6. So it would work on minor, but it would work on Dorian chords, on Phrygian chords, and it would work on Aeolian chords. So does it work? Yes. It works over chord number 3. So let me play you C minor. And this is F minor. So far we've seen that we can use a minor pentatonic, a tone up, and it gives us some extensions of Dorian. And we can play a minor pentatonic, a 4th up or down, so a 4th, in this case from C, basically the 4th is F. And we get colors either for Phrygian or for Aeolian. So we get a flat 6 kind of vibe. Let's move on. Let's delete this. And let's have a look at F sharp. Now, as you can see, F sharp has got a major 7, so now I'm going to ignore it straight away. And I have a 3. So these are all intervals that are not proper to minor. So we're going to ignore F sharp. Now let's try G minor. Now for G minor, as you can see, I have flat 7, I have a 2, so a 9, I have a 4th, so an 11. Again, there is no 3 here, so I could apply this. I can apply this to minor, and as we'll see in the future, I could apply this to mixolydian also because of the flat 7 that there is here. But let's stick to minor chords at the moment. So can I apply this to minor? Yeah, I get a C minor chord, and the colors I'm adding are 9 and 11. Again, where is that coming from? It's It's coming from this, 9 and 11. So I can apply it to a kind of a Dorian sound, and I can apply it to a Aeolian sound at the same time, you know. But overall, as I said, I tend to think it as simply like it's a minor chord, you know, and that's it. I don't necessarily think is it a minor Phrygian, or is it a minor Dorian, or is it a minor Aeolian. What I want to be aware of is the coloration I'm adding. So beside the chord tones, so when I'm playing C minor, beside the chord tones, what kind of colors am I adding? Any upper stretcher? Am I adding any 9, any 11, any 13? So as you can see, like C minor is adding basically an 11 sound, because the pentatonic has got a 4th in it. Let's try G minor. Now I'm highlighting this sound because that's the 9, and you know, it's actually very common to play a minor pentatonic a 5th up from the chord in question. So in the case of C, a 5th up is G. If this was F minor, the 5th up is C. If this was A minor, the 5th up is E minor, the pentatonic. So actually, let's do it A minor. Then I'm gonna play E minor pentatonic. So as you can see, so far, just over a C minor chord, the basic C minor chord, we developed 4 different pentatonics we can use, minor pentatonics. We can use C minor, we can use D minor pentatonic, we can use G minor pentatonic, F minor pentatonic, and we can use G minor pentatonic. And we achieve, obviously, different colors in the process. So let's have a look at A flat. And as you can see here, I have a major 7, I have a flat 9, I have a flat 6, I have a flat 5. So for the moment, we'll disregard it. As you see in the future, this will come back at some point. We know that a 6th from, or a flat 3 down, or a 6th up from the root note is going to give us a minor pentatonic that we can use over major. So in case you forgot that, okay, this works over a major chord, okay? And as you will see in the future, this also works over a mixolydian because of the 3. Then we have B flat. Let's write down B flat minor pentatonic. And in this case, I'm a tone down. Let's see this as a flat 6, as opposed to a sharp 5. What do I have got? Well, I have a flat 3. I have a flat 6, I have a flat 7, so far so good in terms of minor. The effects, I have a flat 2 or a flat 9, a flat 6 or flat 13, and I have a 4th. So this is pretty much because of the flat 2. Again, if you look at the intervals on the other chart. Let's have a look at Phrygian. Flat 2 or flat 9, it's in there, 4 is in there, flat 6 is in there. So what you're playing in the case is all the upper structure, flat 9, 11, flat 13, because I can't stress that enough. It's the same as flat 2, 4, and flat 6. Actually, what I'm going to do, just so that you maybe you really understand it. So flat 6 and flat 13, as you can see, is the same note. 4 and 11, as you can see, is the same note. And flat 2 and flat 9. So maybe if you see it that way, you understand it even better. So you see you have flat 9, 11, and flat 13. And these are minor sounds proper of Phrygian. In terms of remembering this, okay, I can just go a tone down, okay? And, well, C minor. Then I'm going to give you the reference pentatonic. So I'm going to play you C minor pentatonic first, and then go a tone down from it. Now you can clearly, you probably really hear, the difference of vibe just because you're doing that. As I say, these are colors. I mean, I'm not saying that these are better than playing your standard C minor pentatonic over a C minor chord. I'm just saying now we can access different colors. So if we wanted to recap what we learned so far in terms of applying a minor pentatonic to a minor chord, the easier way to remember it goes as follows. So if I have a minor chord, I can go a tone down from it and play a pentatonic minor, in this case B flat, then up a fifth from it, which is F, so F minor pentatonic. So up a fifth from it, which is C, C minor pentatonic. Up a fifth from C is G, and it's G minor pentatonic you can use. Up a fifth from G is D, and D minor pentatonic you can use. So in a way you can go a tone down, then up a fifth, up a fifth, up a fifth, up a fifth, just to remember which ones you can use. Of course, like, you can also visualize it in terms, okay, a tone up, a tone down, a fifth up or a fourth up. Anyway, we have 5 minor pentatonics that we can use over a minor chord. And we can also distinguish them in terms of modal approach. So we know that, of course, the C minor can be used over a minor Dorian or a minor Phrygian or a minor Ionian, because the intervals are 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. These are 5 notes which are in common with all 3 modes. If I want to have a more of a Dorian approach, I know that obviously C minor works, G minor works, and D minor works in terms of pentatonics. If I want to have more of a Phrygian Aeolian sound, I can go up a fourth, so F minor in this case, and play a pentatonic minor. Or if I want a more just a Phrygian kind of sound, I can always use a tone down, which is B flat. How do you practice this? Well, our ears are very much trained to hear this. And it just sounds right. And sometimes maybe like trying to do a D minor pentatonic over C at first, for those of you who are not used to upper structure type of sounds, those type of flavors. You might find it a bit like, it might sound wrong to you, let's put it that way. So what you might want to do is to literally loop a chord, a minor chord. In this case, let's loop A minor, for example, and I'm going to play everything a tone up, okay, from it. And you might want to spend, I don't know, 5-10 minutes on it, maybe 5 or 10 minutes a day, obviously, or whenever you have time. And try and make melodies with it. After a while, because in the process you're also training your ears to those sounds, after a while it's going to sound fine. You actually might enjoy it more than A minor pentatonic over A minor. Let me give you an example. Same thing if you want to do, maybe you want to spend 5 minutes playing the pentatonic, which is a tone down from it. So in this case it would be G minor, or a fifth up, which in this case would be E minor, or a fourth up, which in this case would be D minor. And I'm using A as a reference. So it's always 5 minor pentatonics you can try. Whatever the root of the chord is, so let's say the chord is D minor, I can go a tone down, a fifth up from the tone down, a fifth up, a fifth up, a fifth up. Anyway, I'm going to recap all this information in some neat charts, which I'm going to upload to Patreon. In terms of sound, as I said, you might want to spend some time and before you even try and combining them. They all have different sounds. So I'm going to do this in the key of C so you can hear the differences. I'm going to start from C minor pentatonic. I'm going to go down up a tone, play D minor. I'm going to use this shape. So when you see moving my hands to a different shape, it means that I changed the key. So I'm going to play C minor, then I'm going to play D minor, I'm going to play F minor, I'm going to play G minor pentatonic, I'm going to play B flat minor pentatonic. Let's have a look. So as you can see, I can get all sorts of different vibes and sounds just by displacing a minor pentatonic, okay? So if we recap it with what we did last lesson, we have from a major chord, we can use 3 different pentatonics, and this gives access to Ionian sound or Lydian sound. And now we have 5 minor pentatonics we can use over a minor chord and have access to Dorian sounds, Phrygian sounds, and Aeolian sounds. As you will see in the next lesson, we're going to look at dominant 7. And that's going to be very interesting because we're also going to introduce the concept of alterations. This is pretty much it for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. If anything, I hope you'll find it useful. Once more, I want to thank those who are supporting this project on Patreon, as they're enabling this project at the moment. So this is what keeps it going. And if you're not supporting this on Patreon, you might want to consider doing so. If you have any question, feel free to post it on YouTube or on Patreon itself. And until next time, enjoy playing, which is the most important thing at the end. And well, I'll see you next time. Bye.